Hi, everybody that might be joining. We're going to give another couple of minutes for people to hop on the link, get in the live. Not everybody is as well versed with YouTube, so just want to give a few minutes for people that want to catch it right at the beginning. We're going to start with going through the lovable perks for today, the lovable builds, and also talk about some other exciting announcements that I think if you're a startup founder leading a small business or organization, you could really find some value from the information I'm going to share with you about some grants. And I welcome your questions in the chat. There's a ticker going across the screen. Want to know what you're building in Lovable? Where are you stuck? And you can either send that comment directly to me, you can post it in general chat, and either way I will get it. But again, welcome. Make sure you have your notepad nearby and some water or something to drink. Yeah, we'll get started here in just a second. All right, y'all. Well, welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you that I have not met yet, my name is Cortina, aka the Brand Evangelist, and I am founder CEO at Brand Evangelist. And I'm so happy to be able to participate in SheBuilds today. For those of you watching live, happy International Women's Day. Be sure to give the women in your life a little love and appreciation. And it also, kind of helps to always just recognize that we all may have different identities, different walks of life, but when you're around the creative table, and especially when you're building, coding, and really creating something from the ground up, that different perspectives actually make it more authentic, right? It makes it more community driven, community led, and a lot of times we can really learn a lot from each other, just understanding how we might approach solving a problem or building a solution. So that being said, if there are any men on the live or watching this after the fact, lots of appreciation from our brothers in the tech world and doing branding design work. And yeah, maybe you'll learn something about how I, in particular, go about vibe coding, building in Lovable, and then just in general, building a business, building a brand. And then asking any questions that y'all have. I'm here to answer any and all questions that I can be helpful with. I know a few people were asking questions about hosting and protecting what you've built in Lovable on Reddit, to my Reddit community from the Lovable stream. Definitely would recommend, if you have any more specific questions, once I get to that part, please definitely, as I said, comment away. This is meant to be interactive and make sure that people get what they need out of today's time. So first things first, let me actually give you a little bit of an idea of the run through. I know sometimes it's helpful. So this is basically what I'll go through. So again, we'll start with the SheBuilds event. Make sure that y'all know how to redeem your perks from Lovable for those of you watching building same day. I'll do a preview of a few MVPs in Lovable from my dashboard and give you some tips and hacks that I had to learn the hard way when I was going through my own process. And then we'll talk again, like I said, about the troubleshooting aspect, the protection, hosting, how you get your vibe coded site off to an actually fully hosted platform. And then again, I might be saying website or site as I go through this, but again, on Lovable, you can be building an internal dashboard. You could build a landing page. You could build just something to manage your calendar. Like, it could be so many things on Lovable. For the purposes of what I'm sharing today, most of my examples are going to be websites, although I do have an AI platform that I vibe coded in Lovable that will probably be most of the focus as well. So you'll have a few examples that you can refer back to. Also, there's an Unveil the Brand Evangelist website. I'm going to be talking about business grants, and there's actually a resource that I don't hear anybody talking about. Brand Evangelist actually won a grant from them in January, and so I told myself, on a personal note, I want to make sure other founders, businesses, startups know about this opportunity, because a lot of us are looking for ways, whether it's like having that money to support you vibe coding in Lovable, so buying more credits, having the pro subscription, whether it's Lovable, GitHub, Claude, whatever you might be using. That $1,000 can go a long way when you're just kind of getting started and you're being pretty scrappy. So stick around for that. I don't exactly have a time for today. What I am going to say is I want to give about 20 minutes for the core sections in each. I'm going to set a timer, and my hope is that I can give you back your Sunday, definitely no later than 6:30, probably aiming for like 6:15, 6 o'clock Eastern. So a little less than 2 hours that we'll be on here together. So if you have to step off, maybe come back towards the end of that, or just hop back on here and watch the replay toward the end. But the best way to get your direct questions answered is to hang out live and be interacting in the comments. I'll see it and respond, and you can get an immediate answer to your question, and hopefully that can help you just keep moving, keep doing what you're doing. And then if there are any other FAQs that y'all have, definitely ask. You don't have to save those to the end. I just have it at the end in case I missed any. I need to circle back and recap. So that's the flow for today. That being said, let's go ahead and hop back over here into the perks, and we'll dive right in. So you can visit this page. I think this is also an awesome way to just kind of get some of those immediate questions answered. This domain here, I'm going to drop it in the chat. So this is where we are. And then that'll give you the FAQs that you need. So basically, you want to log into Lovable, which all of you already have already. And if you haven't, go ahead and log in now. If there's anybody watching that needs to create a new account, it's pretty straightforward and easy. But I will just kind of give you a couple of tips as you're getting logged in over there on Lovable. So I will drop this in the chat as well. All right, and then let's see if there's anything else I need to mention from over here. Okay, I think that's all good to go. All right, y'all, so here's our hashtag. Drop that in the chat as well. So it's pretty straightforward, 24-hour window. A few people asked about the time frame. They are in UTC time. So let's just real quick check so that we all know how much more time we have left. Or let's do UTC to EST. You can do this same thing. All right, so UTC, it is 8:45 p.m. So it means we've got about 3 hours left for the build and the SheBuilds free credits for today. So be sure that you're like actively in there taking advantage, or right after we hop off, you are hopping in there and using up that time until it runs out. So just so you know, this is that time that Lovable built off of, okay? All right, so now let's hop over in your Lovable dashboard. So one thing I'll say is when you first get over here, you're gonna see SheBuilds pop up on the main dashboard for today. And then you're going to actually, once you go to your dashboard, you'll see if there's anything that's already been redeemed. And if not, you can just go ahead and click claim. So I'm going to do that here. And then you'll submit your application for your Stripe credits. The other thing I wanted to mention, and this page, yeah, this is just kind of giving you some more information on Stripe. But if we hop over in the dashboard, so this page is where you'll go to apply now. And I'll drop this link in the chat if you want to bookmark this and save this for later. You just have to submit this before midnight tonight. And then let's hop back over here. All right, so when you're on the main page of Lovable, it should look something like this. One of the things that I like to do is rename my workspace just in case I decide to create other workspaces. So once you hit settings, you can come back here and then just name your workspace. This is where you'll see your cloud and AI balance. So if these two things don't have free usage, so you wouldn't necessarily be able to connect your database today for free on Lovable, from what I understand. You would have to top up and add balance for that. So if you're trying to do anything that connects your database or to use the AI built-in feature inside of Lovable, just know that you might want to wait and do that until you can top up, but you can get as far as you can today without needing it. A couple of things that I do. So I'll touch more on security, privacy, protection, and all that in just a little bit. But these are a couple of settings that you might just want to be familiar with. So if you have other people that are in your dashboard, you can always just change this to workspace only, so that anybody that doesn't have access to your workspace basically won't have access to your projects. And you can kind of decide per project or per workspace what you need to do for that. Lovable does also allow you to restrict workspace invitations. For me, I'm the only person that has access to my workspace, but that would just allow you to be able to limit people that you give access to your workspace for some reason. So meaning your login. If you give somebody else your login information and they can see your workspace, they could potentially also share it with others. You do have to be on the enterprise plan for that, and I'll show you a workaround when we get to the protections part of how you can make sure that you are protecting yourself as much as you can. But again, as long as you're not giving out your login information, people can't publicly access your Lovable dashboard like they might be able to with a Google Doc or a Google product. So that's just a myth that I wanted to bust and make sure that y'all weren't worried about that. Okay, and then those are the main things I wanted to show you back there. The other thing that you want to do is, if you don't already, go ahead and create a GitHub account for yourself. I promise you it's going to make your life so much easier. For those of y'all that are new to the world of coding, or you're new to vibe coding, you don't have a developer designer background, basically GitHub is what's known as a repository, and it basically hosts or holds all of your coded projects. So imagine you had like a file cabinet somewhere in your physical office, right, for your business. Your GitHub is essentially going to be kind of like your file cabinet. It'll store and kind of compress all of your different file types that you need for any development projects. And GitHub is great because it basically is going to be the connector or like the translator to getting your site from a vibe coded app like Lovable to a hosting platform. So it's going to be really hard to make that jump between getting your MVP or whatever you're building, your website, landing page, your AI platform. It'll be really hard to get that um, over to like a domain or like a hosting site of your own if you don't have GitHub. And so we're going to actually, I'll show you a couple of quick steps to just kind of create a GitHub account for the first time. I'll do it in incognito because I'm already logged in over here, but just to give you an idea of how you can go about setting that up. The other thing I want to say about connecting to GitHub, um, or I would say connecting in general. So there's one thing that you'll see inside of Lovable, and actually, let me show you this right now. Um, I'll just show you, this is an example. So if I was, for example, upgraded, I'm not currently at this moment just because I knew this build day was happening and I usually top up as I need to. So if I was already on the business plan, I would have an option over here to connect an external domain. So that's one way that you can bypass GitHub and not have to host your file somewhere else. Just know that you're still going to have to host your site somewhere because you have to buy that domain from somewhere. So by default, whoever you're hosting your domain with is, oh, it says Lovable is here until free until 1 a.m. I'll have to check that out. So anytime that you want to add or push a change to your platform, if you're vibe coding it in Lovable, basically you want to get to a place to where you actually don't have to come back between, let me log in Lovable, make this change, and then I got to make sure the change is all live on the domain, whatever that might be. It just kind of pushes everything and automates it. So that way you don't have to be managing changes in a bunch of different locations. Okay. So that is my GitHub connector domain hosting spill. I'll go into that a little bit more in a moment, but let's check out this message. Actually, I didn't see this. And it just brings us back to where we already are. Okay, yeah. So I guess it's 12:59. So technically, okay, yes, 1 a.m. So I guess that gives us what, 5 hours to work with to build. So it's possible. It's very doable. All right, so let's hop back over here and let me actually show you GitHub. So I'm going to open a new incognito window and you can just put GitHub in your browser. And then you can go ahead and do sign up. And then again, you can create this free account. GitHub Copilot is their AI chat that actually allows you to build a website through the GitHub, through your terminal as you're building inside your actual computer. And instead of having to code it yourself, you can actually be building your website by chat. So similar to how you would use Lovable to build, but you actually want to be mindful that I would still start out vibe coding in Lovable and then move to another chatbot like Copilot or Claude Code or something else to finish it. If you felt like maybe it was going to take more credits than you had available, or you just, for whatever reason, weren't getting the results that you wanted inside Lovable and you wanted to have a creative workaround. And I'll show you that in a little bit. So that being said, put in your email here, password, username, country, create an account, and I'm just going to create a sample version. right, and then decide on your username, or let's call this SheBuilds test. That way I know to come back. And then it's going to let me create my account. And then it'll send you a code, as they all do. All right, so we're going to sign into our new GitHub account. Okay, so it'll look something like this whenever you come in. It's actually nice that they have this video over here. When I started on GitHub a few years ago, they didn't have how-tos built into the platform, so that's amazing. You can also, it looks like they have this interface updated where you can actually, and this is the Copilot I was talking about, you can actually have it create code for you right here. So that's amazing. All right, so the first thing that we want to do, I would go ahead and create a repository, and you can give it whatever name you want. Name it something similar to your product. Okay, and then for what I'm doing in Lovable, I tend to keep it private, just so that until the code is ready, I don't necessarily ever want to run the risk of somebody potentially ripping the code, or hitting inspect on my website and being able to pull my code as easily. So I choose that private option so that I have it there. And then the README file is basically just going to give some instructions to people who might come along after you work in your code. Maybe you hire a developer after you, for example, get funding for your project or whatever you're working on, and you can just have some general instructions in there. And when you vibe code in Lovable, it'll actually vibe code a README file, and I'll show you that when we get back inside the MVP. For the license, I generally don't include license. If you're creating something that you want people to be able to use, you can, the most common option for that is going to be a Creative Commons universal license. And that just means that people can, build off of your code here, and that it's not going to get them into any legal trouble. But again, that's totally up to you based on what you're building. And then just hit create repository. Oh, sorry, y'all. I thought I was sharing this the whole time. Here we go. Let me go back. So this is the homepage on GitHub after you've created your account. And then I'll walk you back through those steps for the repository. Here's where I was saying to basically have it share a prompt, and then it'll actually do the coding for you. So you can just create a new repository name there. So I'm just going to do test, since I went through all those steps and was not sharing this tab. Thank you to my team for shooting me a private text. Then select private once again, and then we want to add the README. And then the license that I was mentioning is right here. It's called Creative Commons. And so that's, again, where you would want to go to add if you wanted to have people be able to use or build off of your code. I have selected no license for now, and then I'm just going to create the repository. Okay. So let's actually pretend that we want to delete that one, which is okay to do. Sometimes it will happen. Okay, you can just come down here and it'll tell you that you're making changes that are going to affect your whole repository. Obviously, you don't want to necessarily do this if you have code over here already, but it's fine because we just made that test. and then it asks you to type in the name, and then we want to delete that. Okay, so now all we have is this one, and that's great. You can actually also update your profile, and then that would kind of get you more of on the community side of GitHub. You can see once you click edit, you can add your name, bio, if you have any social links. And again, that's just kind of a great way to give you a little bit more credibility as a person who is a builder and not just vibe coding hobbies and side projects in Lovable. And that's okay if you are, but this gives you a little bit more validity with your project. Okay, so now we have our repository over here. So the next thing I'm going to do, let's go ahead and hop back over to our dashboard in Lovable. Okay, we're back. All right, and so I was actually using this, as you can see, I was using this to vibe code my new brand evangelist website. And I actually, one of the reasons why I gave y'all that example earlier about starting in Lovable and then moving over to another coding tool outside of Lovable, because that's basically what I did with the brand evangelist site. I wasn't crazy about all these options that it gave me whenever I gave it a simple prompt, and sometimes that will happen. And I'll actually show you that here in a second. So if I wanted to actually add this one, for example, this is something that maybe I had built. I want to say connect to GitHub, and then I would connect the project. Now, I'm not going to click it here because, as you remember, I have my GitHub, the new GitHub, the test in my incognito browser. And when I click connect, it's going to connect. Well, actually, let's just do it. I can just show you how it pops up. Okay, so then this is basically what I wanted to show you. It looks like a scary warning, but I promise you it's not. It's basically just telling you that once you set up the two-way sync to, or basically the communication or the connection to GitHub, that you'll basically need to keep your repository in GitHub so that it keeps syncing with Lovable. So if you ever deleted your GitHub repository, you'd be deleting your whole project. But if you deleted it in Lovable, you could still recover it in GitHub, if that makes sense. Okay, so then I'm going to click transfer anyway, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully this doesn't mess anything up. Okay, so now it's giving me the message that it's over here. All right, so now, and this is inside my true repository. So I have a few organizations set up because I wanted to give some structure to my different coded or vibe coded projects from Lovable. So I selected an organization, that's fine. Basically, these are all the files that you have vibe coded in Lovable. So once you have that prompt and Lovable starts building, even though it doesn't look like a whole lot is happening, this is like everything that's happening in the background in a matter of 10 minutes. And so as you can see, there's a lot of things that look very unfamiliar to those of us who don't have a background in coding, but I just kind of wanted you to see, and definitely don't change anything over here, but you can kind of just get an idea of like when you're vibe coding in Lovable, this is what we mean when you're actually using AI to code your project. So anyway, more on GitHub at another time. If you have more questions, I can go more deep on this, but basically just wanted to show you that now you have a fully hosted project in GitHub that's private. Your code is safe and secure. So if something happens to your Lovable account, or it gets deleted for some reason, or you found out, or not found out, but you vibe coded and then decided that you didn't really like the new direction, you can always come back to this code and have it pull a prior version of the code. You can also, a couple of things, just going ahead and touching on some security things, because that's one of a lot of people's biggest concerns is vibe coding in Lovable, is like, how do I make sure that my work is protected? You can actually set up different policies. So you can set up a security policy here, and then this would kind of give you a security file, and then you can actually have people be able to see the versions of the projects that are have security flags, and then they can also report vulnerabilities. So I won't add that in there because that's just a sample, but that's one of the ways that you can help secure your site and not be as vulnerable, and let people know that your site is secure. Let me go over here and do that again. I keep doing that. I gotta remember to hop between tabs, y'all. Sorry, only human. So this is where I was saying you click on security, and then you come over here and it shows you that you can actually have people report when there's something up with your site. Okay. Goodness. All right, so I actually, I'm gonna delete that repository. So let's go to settings, and I'm gonna delete this one. Okay, so I'll type this in, give y'all a chance to catch up and see if there are any questions about GitHub. The main thing I will say is that you just want to have your GitHub account created. Once you have your account created, create a repository, name it something similar to what you're building or what you're building for in Lovable. And then you can go ahead and actually update your profile, maybe, you know, add your picture, your information, confirm access. Oh, I guess it wants my password. It wants my security code. So y'all are getting a real deep dive here. So one other thing you can add to, so that nobody can actually get into your GitHub, if you are really, really concerned, you can add a, especially if you have iPhone, add a password into your passwords tool, and that'll generate an authentication code. So if you ever needed to verify your account, it doesn't have to send you a text and go through that, the whole loop. So that's what I just did there. Okay, so we deleted that sample repo just so it's not confusing. And just so you have an example, this is how I built out my profile. And you can see I have different organizations I'm a part of. Totally up to you how you want to do that. Okay, so now we're going to hop back to Lovable. And again, I'm going to check and see if y'all have any questions. And I am going to do that. I don't recommend doing this, but again, this is just the, actually, it's not going to let me disconnect because I already deleted it on Lovable, or excuse me, on GitHub. But so let's go back over here to the dashboard. Okay, and that's fine because we deleted it on GitHub first. All right. Right now, so I want to show y'all one other way that you can protect yourself. So this is the MVP that I completely vibe coded here in Lovable. It's an AI powered platform that has full sign in capabilities, and actually walks my clients through a 5-stage workflow to help them with their strategic marketing and branding needs. The main reason why I wanted to create a platform like this was because I saw so many of my clients over the years when I ran a branding agency really struggle with having a strategic plan when it came to their marketing and branding. A lot of things happen last minute, or they just were kind of like having this person help who was a freelancer, then a few months later hire a consultant over here, have a volunteer help over there. So you get the picture. A lot of disjointed creative assets. Nobody really had any in-house design skills, and certainly not really like well versed on technology. And so I built this to help with that, those pain points with my clients. So just to kind of give you an idea really quick, I'm going to just click on the different stages. And this is currently right now in beta. And so I have a product roadmap. If you're building an MVP on Lovable, I would definitely recommend, especially if it's like something that you want to have maybe be a SaaS later, or actually be something that people use as a platform, then having this or something like it actually helps people just know and recognize like this is in beta, it's being tested, it's being developed in real time, but I can actually kind of keep up with the journey and feel like I'm part of the process. And so it doesn't make it weird if something goes wrong. The other thing I would say is I included a feedback box. And so you can just type that in as a prompt. Quite literally, just tell Lovable, hey, on my sign-in page for my platform or my SaaS MVP, include a feedback box that emails me when someone reports an improvement. And then, it'll vibe code it. You can preview it, see if it looks like how you want it to look, and adjust it as you need to. And so then just so you can see if something was up with my MVP that I vibe coded in Lovable, or somebody wanted to suggest a product feature, they could just type it over there and it sends me an email and they get a thank you. Okay, now I'm gonna sign in. Make sure I'm using the right passwords. Type it. It's always something. Okay. So now you can see what it looks like on the inside. And again, this is all vibe coded and Lovable. So this actually is the platform itself. So stage 1, I have an AI tool that I built that was part of the vibe coding process. And it actually talks to any client that's here. And it also, one of the biggest issues that I felt like I wanted to solve with vibe coding my MVP was helping people move out of like having to toggle between so many different tools is another big challenge. So this actually keeps the context. As you can see, it already knows some information about me, quote unquote, as the client. And yeah, always tweaks to make. One of the things I'm figuring out right now is how to get rid of those asterisks inside of any responses from Brandy. And then I've got quizzes over here. It just helps my clients, again, for the pain points that I'm solving with my MVP. I'm just trying to help them with strategy. So I set it up to where they can actually come over and see how they can best use various social media platforms. There's a leaderboard built in, so you can see how many points you're collecting, and for the people that are really competitive, stay ahead. It gives you this strategy, which my clients can then copy or download as a PDF. And then they get this PDF that they can send over to their team. So that's just like one example. I don't want to go necessarily too much into the my AI platform in particular, but I just wanted you to have an idea that like all of this was possible because of what I did in Lovable. I didn't use any outside tools to make this. And it's pretty comprehensive. Like there's a ticker here, there's different cards. This goes to an outside application. Right now we're accepting beta testers. So once I click that, it opens up over here. So I was able to connect those. I'll show you how I did that. And then some other things I did. So the request a demo, you can link out to, if you use Calendly, for example, I have it where it links over to Calendly for people to set up time on my calendar for the demo. And then again, the call for beta testers is there. And then I have all of these hyperlinked at the bottom of the footer. Now, one other thing that I did that I think could be helpful for people that are worried about protection and like just kind of be having a little bit more of a secure feel or professional feel to your MVP. Like if you actually wanted to use building something like this to get funding for your business or your startup, I would recommend having these certificates here. And then I also have them at the top of my project. And so these are standard security features for Lovable. So if you click on those, it'll take you to Lovable's Trust Center. You could subscribe to the updates if you wanted to, like just keep getting updates on when something changes and understanding what these different compliances mean. And then just be able to actually like have something that you can share with your clients or your users that you're taking trust and security seriously. The other thing, yeah, and I have it there. So I also link the privacy in the very bottom of the product section. I link to this privacy policy because right now this is hosted on Lovable. And so people need to know what Lovable's privacy policy is when they come over here. And so that's another way I just try to give that sense of security, safety, and let people know it's something that I'm thinking about. And then once I move this, my SaaS off of Lovable and it's hosted on its own domain and it's connected to, you know, it's hosted in my GitHub and it's on its own domain, then I would have my own privacy policy in that case. But for now, it's on Lovable. And so it's just helpful to go ahead and link to what's available. And that will help if somebody was thinking about potentially ripping off your idea, which is not something I recommend letting keep you up at night. But that is one big way that you can do it. Have it somewhere in the top or at the top of your MVP, and then having a link to that privacy policy for Lovable. And I'll throw these on. Throw this in the chat. Okay, it said that I lost audio, but I think it's fine. Okay, so now that you've seen what I built, let's talk about how I built it. So we're gonna hop back over to the Lovable interface. close out some of my tabs. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning and point out a couple of things to you. Giving y'all some behind the scenes cheat code stuff here. Okay. Come on. It doesn't let you bookmark the top of the thread, so you just got to keep scrolling. Oh, gosh. Go, go, go. Level, go, level, go, level, go. Go, go, go. Okay. All right. So here's the beginning. So when I first started off, this is what I told Lovable. I said, hi, Lovable, create a web app that follows the outline of the prompt below. Web app name. Originally, I had forgotten this, but originally I had named this Authentically, but that was taken. So I came up with Beautiful Good, and we readjusted. So I said, design the complete product strategy, user journey, and feature prioritization for Authentically, a brand building and marketing MVP app. Then I gave it the core identity, user profile, app name. I gave it the core mission to be the only platform built specifically for purpose-driven, principle-led, socially responsible brands, providing a strategic workflow, not disconnected tools. Then I gave it my target user or user persona. So for those of you that aren't in the branding world, I'm going to say some words in here that you might not be familiar with, but these are all really helpful because these are the kind of like terms and things that can just save you a bunch of time using up your credits for prompts and trying to get Lovable to understand what you mean. So if you have a user persona, basically just this is the ideal person that I want to be attracted to what I've built and to come over here and build, come over here and use it, then that's my target persona. Same thing as if you had a product in the store on a physical shelf. What is it that is going to attract your ideal buyer to pick that thing up off the shelf out of everything else like it around it? You're kind of trying to cut through the noise by zooming in on your user persona. So highly recommend it. Any MVP that you build in Lovable, have a user persona. I give it my business types. I give it ethos, their pain points, and then my primary value prop when I first started was focusing on saving money. But now it's kind of shifted to more so is solving the strategic problem, because that will inherently save people money. But I didn't want people to feel like they were getting something cheap by saying it's a budget friendly option. People's budgets vary, and sometimes people have extra funding to use on things, sometimes they don't. So I'm just giving that as an example, because you'll have to do a little bit of back work before you hop over to Lovable with your prompts. I mean, you can ask Lovable all these questions, but you're going to want to have some direction that you can give Lovable so it kind of gets it right the first time and builds it close to what you have in your head. The other thing that I did was I gave it a workflow because that's what I wanted to build. So I gave it the 5 levels. I won't go into all those because they're just basically, they are what they are. And then I gave this prompt too about the recommendations and made it specific to impact brands. And then later I gave it more specific training on the AI for the AI feature. So just to show you, like, this isn't a short prompt, but it's not super long either. If you all want this example of my Lovable prompt to get started, let me know, and I'd be happy to make it available for a digital download for anybody that's here from SheBuilds. Find me on LinkedIn. Actually, I can actually give y'all the link tree as well to get in touch. Send me an email. There's a contact form on the website. There's so many ways to get in touch with me. So let me actually just drop that in the chat before I forget. You can ask me for that, and I'd be happy to help you kind of tweak or audit any first or follow-up prompts that you have in Lovable. So let me give you my link tree. Okay, here's that. Okay. All right, so then let's hop back over to the prompt. All right, and hopefully y'all are good to go. I'm going along here. Double timing away audio. Okay, so we're moving along, and I know this is a lot, but I want to make sure that I'm preparing y'all to build. So prompt, again, just to recap, okay? If you want help with the prompting, definitely reach out to me. My contact and all the ways to find me are on the link tree. But if you're building right now and you don't have time to get in touch, because for me, it'd probably be tomorrow when I got back to people at the earliest, just know that you want to give it a name. You want to give it exactly what the mission is, like what's your MVP supposed to do. You want to give them you want to give level a user persona. So who is it you're trying to reach? Who's going to use it? I like to name my ethos, so it just helps with the language because it's going to create placeholder language. I'm sure y'all have noticed if you're already building in Lovable, you can use the ethos. If you had different values, just put that in there. It helps and it will save you a lot of time, I promise you. I also go ahead and give it the pain points of my audience. So going back to the user persona, what's the value proposition? So why would somebody pick this off the shelf as opposed to other MVPs or other websites, other services, whatever you're selling? And then give it the features that you want to start with, which is that for me. And then give it a focus. And so that should just help you with your first prompt, okay? So then I'm just going to skip through a few other prompts here because that's just me talking to Lovable to get the MVP built. I did give it some instructions here about the font. I uploaded the true text file. If you don't have your a branded font, again, that's one of those things where you have to do a little bit of work before you come over to Lovable. It'll just help save you from spending up your credits, and the fewer messages you send, the less it costs you and the less time it takes to go back and fix stuff later. So if you don't already, you can go to fonts.google.com, find your TTF file or true text file, true text file, and that'll give you a file you can upload to Lovable. So then it's building, we're working on things. Now at this point, I've actually added in the cloud over here because that's the only way that I can get the auth database. So these are the things that it's actually like saving in my data that needs to be saved and stored in the database somewhere. So that's where Lovable Cloud comes in. If you have, for example, a contact form, if you have a quiz, if you have something where people need to fill out information that comes to you, you're going to want to add your Lovable Cloud or the AI feature or both. So then I'm just kind of going through. One thing that I did add was an authentication. So that'll also, going back to protections, that'll help. Then you can just tell it to have people sign up or sign in. And as you can see, it didn't let me in with the wrong password. That's actually a good thing that I was able to forget my password and show y'all that it's real. And then I just kind of keep going from there. And I have quizzes in here, as you could see, and it saves the progress. So I needed to make sure I told it to save all of these different things for my MVP. And then I'm going to keep scrolling. Okay, and so then once we got to a milestone, these is just recapping all the things that it added. So it added in the database fields for the things my clients will save. It added a storage bucket for logo uploads and security policies. And so that's important. If you're not asking Lovable to implement proper security policies, that's a really easy prompt to use that will help you with your protections. So again, anything that you have that people upload or that people save, just ask Lovable to create a database storage or a database option with proper security policies for X item or whatever it is. Okay, and then I'm asking it about login information there. And then I felt like the display name field was a security risk, so I asked it to remove it. That's another way that you can be careful with your protections. And then I'm going to actually scroll down for a bit because now I'm just tweaking features and show you one more example over here. So one thing that Lovable will do is it'll show you if you have security risks. So over here, for example, I have security risks. So I'll just kind of go through and see what they are. And then if you've ignored them because it doesn't apply to you, it'll just cross it out. But because of the security and compliance that Lovable has, as we saw before, it's gonna flag it if something is not up to date. And I think generally it wants to do a scan at least once a week. So I'll just go ahead and click update, and that'll do the security scan, and you can see it's scanning. And then over here, here's some other security measures that I took to make sure it was protected. So I have auth implementation with Superbase, and it requires input validation. So that password, the email, I also protected it with RLS. So each user can only view or update their own profile. So for example, if you have people logging into your SaaS, you don't want them to have admin view so that they can actually be editing or changing somebody else's profile or their data. So you would definitely want to protect with RLS anything that has a profile-based system. I've seen some horror stories actually on Reddit about this, and I wish I could respond to every single comment that I see, but it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do SheBuilds today. Because I think it's just things like this. If you don't come from a developer world or you don't have any background in tech, you just don't know what you don't know. So always protect your users as much as you can. I'm just giving you some examples that you can use today and some of the things that I did. Okay, you want to give things owner-only access is another way to say it. And then I also created roles. So again, because there's going to be multiple people signed into the platform at once, having roles as member or admin or manager will just help you talk to Lovable a lot easier. So the admin in my case is only going to be me. My members would be the clients. The managers might be my team, people who work with brand evangelists and who I might delegate something and say, hey, can you go log in, change this thing, change that. They would have their own login information and have the role of a manager. And I can set through my Lovable prompts how much they can actually go in and change. So for those of you that are like solopreneurs or you're kind of working on your own, it's a really good way to just kind of go ahead and set yourself up to be able to get help because then you don't have to constantly just give out your admin information and try to go and figure out what went wrong. If you have a breach at some point, you can just kind of go in and look at the logs for each of your different users or roles. So that's another tip that I would give. All right, so let's move on. All right, I'm gonna scroll down a bit. Still, as y'all can see, I spent a lot of time on security. I probably need to make this into some sort of digital tool to help other people. To me, I was just like, I need to think about this ahead of time. And I know a little bit more than, I guess, the average because I've built websites before. So I'm happy to help however I can. Let's keep going. All right, I'm going to scroll down for a ways, just being mindful of time. Okay, so then we're creating pages, snap bars. Yep, I'm just doing changes there. All right, so I'm gonna scroll it down towards the bottom. One other thing I would say about Lovable is nice that you can actually add screenshots. Here, I actually was trying to reference the spacing being off. So I took a screenshot on my Mac, uploaded it, and asked Lovable to look at see what I see. Can you fix this? So sometimes you don't have to type out your prompt, which is nice. All right, and I'm gonna zoom scroll, protect your eyes. Okay, all right. This is where I added, I had a screenshot and changed the background to have those certificates and added them at the bottom. So that's how I got that there. Oops. What was it that I'm looking at there? Okay, we're just going over security risks. Okay, and we're updating some UX. So if you have to update your UX or your user experience, it's basically the visual side of okay, security is up to date. I'm going to close this. So you can also edit things over here in the design as opposed to being in the prompt. Visual edits don't use as many credits as doing the hard prompt edits. But for me, I haven't done a whole lot with the visual edits, but I have given Lovable better prompts by coming over in the design side and then maybe clicking on a section, and then it'll tell me what it is. Like I can see that this is H1. So if for example, I wanted to make this bigger, then in my prompt, and I could just tell Lovable for this element, change this, make this bigger. And so you can click around and that'll help you make the edits that you need to. You're kind of still using chat, but it's more of a visual, so you can click around and tell it what you want to change. So just wanted to show y'all that. All right, and then the other thing I would say, as far as building your first MVP or just building over here in general, security aside, security protecting your users and your MVP is the biggest, the most important thing I would say. But also, you can add in anchors. So if this is a one-page scroll, so like if you notice when I click up here, it's not going to an outside page, it's going to a section. If you're building a landing page, it's really helpful. But you'll have to actually call it an anchor or use the hashtag and then actually have it go to that section, and you'll have to name the sections as well. So I gave this a section name of beta, And then I told Lovable that I wanted it to go from the nav bar being clicked to landing on this section of my the landing page for the MVP. Same thing with get involved. And so that's kind of how you do that. Let's see what else. If you ever have to create or you have to upload logos, you can just refer to like resizing. You don't have to know pixels. Just give it a percentage. It's the easiest thing. Just give it a percentage. If you need to make it bigger, I just try to eyeball it and say, okay, this needs to be bigger by 50%, 25%. If I want to double the size that I'm seeing, it's 100%. And so that just kind of helps a lot. And then I'm trying to see if there's anything else as far as this side of things that I want to point out. This is where I put in the security compliance badge over here. So you can see that I just kind of prompted it to put those in and gave it some suggestions. Any other things that jump out at me? I think those are the main things that I wanted to go over as far as like building in Lovable and getting your design and your actual MVP to be a little less looking like everyone else's. Because as we know, a lot of times if you give Lovable just a simple prompt, you'll end up with something looking like this. And actually, this one, and actually I'm going to delete this, but I gave it a little bit more of a detailed prompt. And so if for anybody that's been using AI for a minute, I'm sure you know about the act as. And so you can use the act as with Lovable too. And so I'll actually sometimes, if I'm starting on a project, so for this website, I was just trying to get it to kind of like, I was trying to ask myself, how can I take what's in my head and translate it with the fewest words possible in a way that an AI development tool would understand? So I need to reference an example that's probably already on the web, was my logic in telling it to act as. And then I was like, well, the closest thing I can think of is kind of Apple. So like, okay, let's start there. And then I know I'm going to have to modify and build on top of it. So that's why I kind of did the act as there, and how I kind of, gave it a little bit more of my authentic branding to keep in mind. And so you can see my prompt here. I gave it specifics that were brand aligned. So you can actually get colors to Lovable by doing the hash, and then do what's called a hex code. And that's just a 6-digit letter number combination that will basically, it's like mixing your paint, but in the digital world. Same thing with the fonts. These are my brand fonts. And so I gave it specific instructions. And I had already uploaded Antonio to Lovable, so it had it. And then Montserrat is a universal font, so I didn't have to upload the file for that. So yeah, you can see this is what I told it to work on, or what I told it, and this is what it gave me. So I'm not crazy about it. The War Room, see it in action, demo. I mean, there were some things that were good. And so sometimes you just need to get your idea out, let Lovable create it. And they're not always going to be one hit. It's not always going to be one prompt and then it's a hit. With Beautiful Good, I had a starter prompt and I was able to build on that prompt because I gave it a little bit more at the beginning. This one kind of was a little bit closer for the Brand Evangelist site, but still not all the way. And you can see like, Lovable is going to prompt things that basically look about the same. You can kind of tell these days if somebody's used Lovable for their site. So it just helps if you can give it more your authentic branding, and it'll help it stand out. I'll show you one more, and I'm actually going to show you what the website looks like now that I've moved it off of Lovable onto GitHub. And I'm using Claude Code to help finish building it. So this is the one that got the closest to what I wanted it to look like. It has a little bit more of, some of the like features that I want. And basically I had to give it a direct example. So instead of using an act as, I just gave it a URL and then gave it my branding and told it, this is what I want. This is how it should look. And so there's that. And then basically from there, let me actually show y'all. So from there, one thing that you can do once you get what you want in Lovable, so you can come over here to this, these brackets with the line in between. This is your code. And so what you'll have to do is you'll have to take each of the files. And this is, again, if you're moving it off Lovable, maybe your credits are up, maybe you hire a developer, you know somebody who knows code well enough to help you like move it off of Lovable and actually keep building the site. In my case, I've actually took the files, moved it over to VS Code, and I'm having Claude Code help me finish building the rest based on what's in my head and prompting it and using like developer terms as much as I can. So each of these needs to be copied. And so you can just copy the file content, and then you would bring it over here to what's called Visual Studio Code. And let me share this window with y'all. Let me share a new screen. Okay, all right, so there's that. Okay, so this is basically Visual Studio Code. So you can see that I had, basically I started with nothing over here, just a folder. Let me allow that. And so I basically had to come over and create all of these different files. And so for some of you that are developers, you'll appreciate and understand this. If you feel like this is outside of your capacity, it's fine to just kind of get familiar, and then you can share this video or your notes with somebody who can, and they'll know exactly what you mean. So I'm actually going to let me do a side-by-side here, and it still looks the same to y'all, but I just want to be able to give you a real example. Okay. And so let's do the components. Okay, actually, so I'll show you. So the components.jsn, and you can see I've got Claude working on the side over there, working away while I'm talking to y'all. That's one of the beauties of AI coding or vibe coding, is you can really multitask a lot. Okay, so components. Okay, so this is just an example. You might have seen me click around over in Lovable, and also the another thing I could show you is how the README file looks. So you can see, this is it. I had to bring everything over here, and so it still has the README for Lovable. Before I actually move this, deploy it to the full domain, I'll actually come over here and update the README file, and this will be saved to GitHub. And so right now it's not living on Lovable. I started on Lovable, it's living on GitHub, and technically I have it backed up on my computer as well. And so this is, again, taking y'all back to the beginning so you can see for yourself. I'm not making any of this up. I'm just sharing what I did and what worked for me. But I do feel like, as somebody who's done a lot of research and struggled with this and been, building websites and in tech for over 13 years, like, I'm just trying to give y'all a little bit more of an unfair advantage that I didn't have, because I really want to see more people, following their dreams. You have an idea, like, let's make it real. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go into this kind of detail. I went over here, and you have to have Claude Code installed. So again, a little bit of a back step, but once you have Claude Code installed on your VS Code, you can basically do @Claude Code, and it'll open up a chat window. And then I asked it if it can help me finish building a website if I give you the code as is. So basically, I gave it all of this context, and said it might help if you have the context. Here is the prompt I gave to Lovable. And there are quite a few files, so take a look at the index.html. So I tried to copy and paste an example of the file, and Claude Code was like, actually, you're going to have to move them all over so I can look at the whole project. So did that, took a few hours, but I got it done. And then next thing I did after I got the files moved over, we had to go through and like move some things around. It might have just been me getting cross-eyed. It might have been, it was kind of different in Lovable. So that's one of the other reasons why I wanted to move to another chat window or AI chat for the development, because then this can quickly help me identify if something's like not aligned how it needs to be, or it's like routing in the wrong direction. So then that's just us going back and forth for a while. And then the warnings. So if you see anything red, sometimes there are warnings. Same thing like Lovable. It will tell you if there's something that looks off. It doesn't always need to be addressed, but it's just giving you a heads up because it's always checking for security. So then it's built. So after we address the warnings, I move the file over. It is basically it lives over here in my VS Code terminal. Sorry, that's what I get for trying to multitask. Okay, so then I'm gonna just tell my terminal to basically run the site, and then you can see how I got from Lovable Vibe Code, VS or Visual Studio Code build to an actual live working website. And let me try to make this tinier. Okay, now let me share this one. Okay. All right. So after the work in the terminal with Claude. Okay, yeah. So now y'all should see that. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. So you can see it's quite different. I have that linked to go to my beta MVP, because now I've kind of, wanted to show that I'm built a business around the MVP and it's not just standalone. I still have a couple of changes to make as far as placeholders, like that, the logos. But then I was able to go in and update all the content specific to me. And all the privacy policy stuff and terms and conditions. Like those are generally the first two things that I do. And so you can see terms of services over there as well. And there's like some AI, intellectual property um, clauses over there. So it's just nice. Again, always think about protecting yourself, what you built. And once you have things in place, you don't have to so much worry about it. Contact page is built out. And then all of these link out to various pages: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, all hyperlinked. I've got a web form set up to capture emails now. There's an alignment test in there, so it's one of my lead mags. And it'll bring people over here with their roadmap. And so it's just like one of the things that I wanted to be able to do is like have quizzes that pop up and other features that I just wasn't able to accomplish inside Lovable. And that's okay. Like Lovable, sometimes depending on how you start your prompt or how you like continue on with things, it's not always gonna hit, like, again, it's not gonna always make it perfect the first time through. So there's a couple other things I want to save over here. So, but just wanted to kind of show y'all, like you can kind of go from Lovable and having as best you can of a prompt and then get the site to where you want it to be as far as how it looks and the features that you want. Take that and actually put it into another AI prompt that may not have some of the same limitations, Claude Code, Copilot for GitHub, whatever it might be. And then that'll help you finish building out your site. All right, so that was a lot. Let me see if there are any other questions about any of that before I show y'all the business grants. If you have any questions, drop your questions. Okay, I think we're good. I don't see that I'm forgetting anything. Okay. All right, y'all. Well, I wanted to also, because again, ooh, got a credit. Oh, that was a few days ago. And it'll always tell you. Or try to get you to upgrade. But so this is the dashboard. So let me go back and share this tab. Okay, and I'll drop this in the chat as well. But you want to go to helloskip.com. And as I mentioned, this is actually an amazing resource. A lot of people don't know about it. As you can already see, there is so many different grants. The instant grant is what I wanted to let y'all know about today. And then you can also see if there are other grants. Some of them are for brick and mortar businesses. Some of them are for specific like tech-based or AI businesses. And then some are location-based. And then Skip, the platform, every Tuesday and Friday they will do live giveaways of the $1,000 grants. And so, because I know it's a question that people have a lot, and it's one of the things that I was looking for brand evangelists, just to kind of help with some of the other, getting more lovable credits and things like that. I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. So once you're go ahead and create a login for yourself, and you can always bookmark and come back to this later, but I just want to show you a few things here. Let's see. I'll give you all a second to do that. Okay. Wanted to try to put this in a ticker for y'all, but it's probably easier if you can just copy and paste. If you use my link, it'll give you credit. You'll get an extra credit. I think it's like another $10 in skip credit, and I actually will show you. Okay, it's $5 credit. Those will add up, and it'll actually give you access to get a free trial of Skip Plus. Okay, so let's share this tab. Gosh, that red banner. So this is the instant grant. So hopefully everybody's created a Skip account at this point. Once you click that link, you can set your username and password. You come over here to the dashboard, and then you'll actually come and click on the Skip grants. I don't know why I'm not thinking properly. And then, so this actually gives you a little bit more of the guidelines of the Skip grant. So basically, you want to follow the grant, which you just saw me do. It'll tell you how much you're eligible to unlock. So right now, my eligibility was 900. You get the extra funding based on the other things that you complete. So things like adding your business plan, linking your bank account, add products and services, complete your grants vault. Each of those things will unlock more that you could potentially win if you get selected in a live drawing. The live drawings are 3 p.m. Eastern time, Tuesdays and Fridays. And then you basically need to come back over to Skip, be logged in about the window starts 30 minutes before 3, so 2:30. And then you'll actually hit the enter button. That'll enter you into the live drawing for that day. And then once your business is called, then you have 60 seconds to basically claim the grant. And so the system kind of, part of it is random drawing, because you don't ever know when or if you're going to be called. But the good news is, if you've entered the grant, then you're at least close by your computer. And so it'll send you an email or an alert if your name does get called, and you just have to be pretty quick to be able to claim it. And no other purchase is required. You just have to enter it, and it does, I think, also probably rank, like the algorithm that they use. A lot of times it's looking at like what's your percentages on your profile. So there is that. Let me go over here. So yeah, so we have a listing score of 100% because of all the things that I filled out. And this just gives you an idea of like what you can actually create on your profile. So I have a mission there. You know, you select your category, or your industry rather. You can go up to 3. Your entity type. So they have all these entities that you can be to be on Skip, and to be eligible to win. And one weird thing too, I don't know if they fixed that, but it would be, the only glitch that I found is you gotta set the year a year back for it to show up a year forward. So I had to set it to 2024, and it shows up on my profile as 2025. So if you happen to notice that, that's why that is. And then you have your public image there, and then product and services, and then you can add those. So I have product services that need to be updated. So that's one of the things that I'll probably get to doing soon. This was back in the day, or early in the day, I should say, before the full tech pivot. You can add FAQs. And then one of the other cool things that you can do is if you click down into rankings, it'll show you leaderboard. So I don't know why brand managers is number 4, but that's fine. We got 176 likes for representing. And so it's always just nice to see. You can explore other city pages, find other businesses in other areas. It's only going to show you the leaderboard for your current state. So there's a few things that you could do over there. I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to, oh, look at me, not taking y'all. So once you click into it, this was the page I was talking about with the leaderboard. Um, and then share this tab. Okay, so then other things. So instant grants is over here on the side. And then you can also go to dashboard and then scroll down to grants due soon. And it'll show you grants that are coming up. If you happen to click on one, let me just show you. You can click start applying, and that basically saves it in your favorites. You do have to be on Skip Plus to have it auto apply for you and to fill out the grant based on your application inside of Skip. So I'll show you an example of that. So say I wanted to apply for this Skip grant. It pulls that up. It's going to always ask if I want to upgrade, and I don't. I'm fine for now, thank you. But then you can see the application questions. It measures your strength, or if you're on par with the grant itself. And then you can, once you've reviewed it and filled out all the fields, you'll have the submit button go live. And if you're on Skip Plus, you can use their AI tool, which is called Co-Founder, and it'll actually take your business information that you put in and apply for you. I would probably wait until you filled out your business listing and added like your up-to-date information before you apply via Co-Founder. So in our case, I need to go over and update the services and make it more realistic with where we are now, a year later after starting, and then I'll hit apply. But that's just you'll decide how you want to handle that. So let's see if there's anything else I wanted to show y'all over here. Yeah, there was one. I was like, which one is it? I feel like this was the one that we won. It's one of these. It'll show you who wins where. Because you don't, of course, you don't get it every time. But anyway, those are the skip grants. I'll see if I can find our winner page. I'll pause there and see how we're doing. If we have any questions, Lovable related or otherwise, in the comments while I scroll through here and try to find my page for y'all. Oh gosh, sometimes there can just be a lot going on a page too. Okay. It was in January. I do know that. So many winners. It's actually so cool to look at and see like the different businesses across the US as well. Where you at, Brand Evo? Where you at? Wow, so many people. Here we go. You know what? Just search. Why? But yeah, here's our little page here representing West Virginia. But yes, so this is also a cool page just to kind of get an idea of who's won and to follow along. Okay. Oh, I did it again, didn't I? Here's the skip profile. I'll drop this in the comments. All right, y'all. Well, thank you. I just want to appreciate those of y'all that dropped in for this SheBuilds for the last couple of hours, just kind of showcasing um, how you can actually go from lovable, like prompt, like using a lovable prompt to actually building a full-fledged website, and actually like having a business built around it, and how many things that you can actually use Lovable for. One of the other things I wanted to show you before we wrap up is that you can actually get connected with Lovable through Discord. And so in the Discord already, would love to see y'all over there. I'm going to drop the invite in the chat. And then hang around if there are any other last minute questions that people have. But just again, want to thank y'all for taking a couple hours out of your Sunday to celebrate International Women's Day, for building with me and my nerdy self for a few hours, and just say, keep going. If you feel stuck with anything that you're working on, anything that you're building, just remember that we've all been there at one point or another. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just join, get in community, ask people questions, share your MVP, and actually have people give you feedback. Remember the steps that I gave you about protecting your MVP or your website, database, landing page, whatever you build in Lovable. Take advantage of those skip grants, the instant grants. $1,000 is given away times 6 or 7. They do 6 or 7 drawings every Tuesday and Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Build a profile on Skip. It'll help bring visibility to the work that you're doing and what you're up to. And then just keep in mind that nothing happens on islands. So if you ever need support or you have questions that I didn't go over today, I would be happy to hop on a call. You can post a question to me on Quora. I can never say it for whatever reason. Or you can also post a question to me on Reddit as well, and I'll see that. And then from here, I just want to give you back your Sunday evening. A few minutes before ahead of time. Don't forget to request your 250 Stripe fee credits. Join that Discord, and then find me on all the places where you like to vibe on social media. And I can't wait to see what y'all build. Again, my name is Cortina. I am founder CEO at Brand Evangelist. This has been a pleasure and an honor for whoever watches live, whoever sees this after. Thank you for being here. And I will see you in the next live stream. Have a good day and enjoy the rest of your week.